welcome to the deep dive. So today we've got a bit of a unique mission, actually.
Yeah.
We're taking the source material, right? It was originally designed to teach English language learners about small talk,
Okay, I know the kind of thing.
but we're treating it differently, more like a sociological map.
Ah, I see where you're going.
Yeah, the goal isn't really the vocabulary. It's more about decoding the mechanics, the hidden rules of social comfort in a lot of English-speaking cultures.
Right. Sort of a shortcut to understanding that whole low-stakes conversation thing.
Okay.
That's precisely the objective here. So if you sometimes feel, overwhelmed by needing to be really witty or, I don't know, profound in just short chats.
Which is a lot of pressure.
It is. Well, then this deep dive should really help. We're basically extracting the 4 core safe topics and those 5 essential rules for actually doing it. And once you understand what's safe to talk about, and maybe more importantly, why those boundaries are there, well, social confidence, it tends to follow pretty quickly.
And this guide we're looking at, it's fantastic because it just lays out the blueprint so clearly.
Doesn't it?
Yeah, it defines small talk,
Yeah.
gives us those 4 key topics, and the practical tips. So, okay, let's unpack this. Let's figure out how these really simple-seeming chats, how they actually work as the gateway to, well, pretty much all other social interaction.
Well, the fascinating thing, I think, is that to really get small talk, you have to see its core function. It goes way beyond just, killing time.
Yeah.
Okay, let's start right there then. The definition itself is pretty short. Just a short, polite conversation. Simple enough. But you're saying the why is the real key.
Absolutely. Think of small talk as like a social airlock, or maybe a mutual risk assessment.
Okay.
It's specifically used to help people feel comfortable before they move on to anything more substantial.
Yeah.
Whether that's a tricky work discussion or maybe a deeper personal connection, right? You try and skip that stage. You're kind of bypassing the cultural requirement for building rapport first. The source really hammers this home. It must be not deep or personal. And that's not a bug. It's a feature.
Exactly. That characteristic is its main design feature. It ensures this mutual low vulnerability, keeps things safe for everyone. So it's like the required lubricant for just daily interactions. And the source backs this up, listing where you find it. Work, parties, even like a short elevator ride.
It's the thing that turns, 2 separate people into 2 people just momentarily sharing a space, a common experience.
And precisely because its function is so basic, so foundational, the topics that are okay to talk about, they're actually pretty limited, pretty constrained.
Which is where the source gives us that brilliant blueprint for conversational safety.
Yeah.
Okay, let's dig into the first pillar. The absolute king of safe topics, I think. It's almost a cliche, but, well, the weather.
It really is the ultimate neutral common ground, isn't it? I mean, everyone's experiencing the same sort of ambient reality right then.
Right. And the source gives those classic openers, those little permission slips to start a chat. Nice weather today, isn't it? Or maybe, if you want to be a touch cautious, looks like it might rain. And the expected response is key too, right? The source basically says, you don't need to give a full forecast.
No, definitely not.
You just need to send back a short, easy signal that says, yep, I'm playing along. Like, yes, it's beautiful today. Or, "Ugh, it's freezing." Minimal effort needed.
Yes, but the real insight here, I think, is how the source suggests you can just slightly elevate this topic.
Oh, yeah. How?
Well, it gives this example dialogue where someone says, the sunny weather makes me feel more energetic.
Okay.
Now, that's a crucial little move. You're linking the totally impersonal topic, the weather, to a positive personal feeling, energy, happiness, but without revealing anything truly vulnerable or, deep about yourself.
That's actually quite a sophisticated little maneuver when you break it down. You've established shared space. Now you've kind of established shared positive feeling. Okay, so where do we go next? What's the next safe category after we've navigated the weather?
Right. So the next step is usually the recent past or the near future, generally focused around the day itself or weekend plans.
Okay.
So this involves questions about, lived experience, but again, they're very constrained. They focus on non-controversial activities, things like, how's your day going? Or what did you do over the weekend?
Yeah, standard stuff. And the examples in the source are perfect for this. You've got the active response, like I went hiking with some friends, versus the more relaxing one, oh, I just stayed home and watched a movie. Both are really simple, low-stakes stories. Okay, but this brings us to something really important, I think, that the source points out. This cultural expectation of a positive response.
Yes, this is key.
Even if your weekend was frankly boring, or your day's been a bit stressful, the suggested phrases are always things like, not bad, or pretty good. Why? Why this insistence on positivity in small talk?
Well, because small talk just isn't therapy, is it? The uh, the cultural mandate really is to keep the environment generally cheerful, non-confrontational, low stress.
Right.
So the source recognizes that by choosing pretty good, even if it's not strictly true, you're signaling to the other person, hey, I'm not going to dump any emotional burden on you right now.
Uh-huh.
You're keeping the interaction light, manageable, anything genuinely negative, that's really reserved for closer friends or, more serious contexts. That positive phrase is like a cultural buffer, protecting the lightness of that moment.
It's like a protective shield for everyone involved.
Yeah.
Okay, so if we've handled the weather and the sort of immediate timeline, where do we go next to build a slightly deeper but still safe connection?
Right. So now we can edge into categories 3 and 4. These are personal preferences, think hobbies, interests, and then the professional context, so work or school.
And the way you ask questions shifts a bit here, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It needs slightly more direct curiosity about the person themselves.
Sure.
So we move to things like, what do you like to do in your free time? Or maybe, have you watched any good movies lately?
And what's great about the source material is the detail it uses to show how small talk works as a stepping stone. Like they use the hobby example of cooking.
Yeah, I saw that. The conversation starts broad. It goes, oh, I love cooking.
Yeah.
Then it gets a bit more specific, especially Italian food.
Yeah.
Okay. And then it zooms in for the potential connection point. My favorite dish is pasta with homemade sauce.
Right. And that third step, mentioning the homemade sauce, that feels like a little test, doesn't it?
Well, if the person you're chatting with reacts positively to that specific detail, they've kind of signaled enough interest for you to maybe continue down that path. Small talk isn't just reciting facts. It's also about reading those little signals.
That's a really good point. Absolutely. And then the final category, it moves into that professional solidarity zone, work or school.
Right.
And what's really fascinating here is how the questions immediately pivot to being context or project-focused. They tend to bypass personal ambition or anything too deep. It's how's work going? Or maybe how's that project coming along? So it's about expressing that shared professional grind, but keeping it, well, superficial. You're not asking about their salary or career regrets.
Definitely not. You're just asking about the current workload, the shared experience of being busy. And again, the source gives us that perfect sort of polished response, which is just invaluable, I think. When someone asks how work's going, that acceptable, polite, slightly negative, but not really negative response is, it's been busy, but I can't complain.
Yes.
Yeah.
The universal professional sigh, wrapped up in a nice, low-maintenance, positive-ish package.
Exactly.
It signals connection, like, yes, I too am a productive adult who is busy, but without actually complaining, which would violate the rules. It's quite a masterful bit of social code, really.
It perfectly holds up that positive facade while still acknowledging the reality of a busy life. It basically says, look, I share your burden, but I'm not going to burden you with my misery. Okay, so we've covered the 4 main anchors: weather, daily life stuff, interests, and the work-school context. But knowing the topics isn't enough, right? Execution is key.
Oh, totally.
So let's synthesize the source's 5 key rules for actually doing small talk successfully. This is the toolkit.
Right. And these 5 rules are what really shift the interaction from just, reciting safe facts to making a genuine, even if it's temporary, connection. Okay, rule number 1, purely nonverbal. Smile. The source says this makes you sound friendly. Simple. But culturally, a smile does a lot more work than just that, doesn't it? It really does. A smile is almost like a nonverbal contract in this context. It guarantees low aggression. It signals positivity for the exchange. It literally physically lowers the barrier between you and the other person.
Yeah.
If you try to start small talk without a smile, you risk signaling stress, maybe even confrontation, which just immediately kills the whole comfort-building purpose of the chat. Okay, makes sense. Rule number 2 deals with the flow. Ask open questions. Seems basic, but it's critical. Why is avoiding simple yes-no questions so important here? Well, because a yes-no answer is basically a conversational dead end, right? Small talk needs a little momentum to survive. An open question, something like, what do you do to relax? Or how do you spend your weekend? It forces the other person to generate a small narrative, a little story. The source warns against asking things like, did you have a good weekend?
Because they can just say yes. End of story.
Exactly. It gives them easy permission to shut the conversation down. You have to provide a little launching pad for them to offer something back, even if it's short.
Got it.
And that leads straight into rule 3, which is about paying attention. Listen carefully. Show genuine interest. Yes.
So if you ask that open question, you absolutely have to follow up with something that shows you actually heard their little narrative. It's not just about waiting for your turn to talk.
No, it's about building, even in a tiny way, off their response. It shows you're engaged. Okay. Now, rule number 4. This feels like maybe the most crucial cultural boundary marker. Avoid personal or negative topics. The big one.
The source specifically flags things like money or politics. Why are these absolute conversation killers in this kind of low-stakes setting? Well, think about the core purpose we discussed. Establishing mutual comfort, low risk, money and politics. They instantly introduce potential conflict, strong opinions, maybe even judgment.
Yeah, they're inherently divisive, often.
Exactly. They're topics almost designed to generate disagreement or require deep personal disclosure, which is the complete opposite of the small talk mission.
It really says a lot about the culture, doesn't it? That the default public conversation mode is one of deliberate non-intrusion. It does. You're not expected, sometimes not even welcome, to share really divisive views or your financial troubles with someone you've just met or barely know. It preserves the social piece by creating these zones of kind of agreed upon superficiality. It's the social firewall. Okay? And finally, rule number 5 is just about persistence. Practice often. Simple but true. The source is clear. The more you do it, the easier it gets. It frames it less as a complex language challenge and more like a muscle memory exercise.
Yeah, and I think we should reiterate the philosophy that ties all these rules together.
Right.
Small talk is fundamentally about connection, not perfection. The effort you show to, smiling, asking those open questions, keeping things generally positive, that effort is often appreciated much more than having perfect vocabulary or flawless grammar. It's the gesture that counts.
So we've kind of deconstructed the definition, looked at the function, identified those 4 safe harbors for conversation, and really importantly, talked about the cultural why behind those 5 key rules. Yeah, and looking at it this way, this deep dive into what seems like a simple language lesson, it actually reveals something quite profound about cultural norms, I think.
How so?
Well, that requirement to avoid topics like money and politics and the pressure to give positive responses, it tells us that in these specific social contexts, there's a huge prioritization of mutual pleasantness and low emotional stakes that's valued above almost everything else. It really defines the currency of light everyday interaction.
It definitely raises an interesting question. What happens when, or if, a conversation does manage to successfully navigate past that surface level and actually ventures into deeper connection?
Well, that's maybe something for you, the listener, to explore on your own time, but for right now, for immediate use.
We've given you the toolkit, the full social script, pretty much extracted. Exactly. So maybe here's a final thought, something practical to take into your day. Just take the absolute simplest introductory phrase suggested in the source, your safest possible move. Hi, how's your day going?
Yeah, try it. On a colleague, maybe a cashier, a stranger this week. Just see how that tiny, simple phrase, especially now that you're armed with the knowledge of the rules we just discussed, see how it can instantly change a moment of potentially awkward silence into a brief moment of, well, social connection.
Give it a go. See what happens. Thanks for diving deep with us today.
Yeah, thanks everyone.
I'll catch you next time.
Have you ever had that moment, that super awkward silence right after you say hello? Yeah, we've all been there. Well, today we're going to demystify small talk. It's the secret key to unlocking easy, confident conversations in English. Let's jump right in.
Right? You say hello, they say hello back, and then crickets. It's that moment of panic, especially when you're trying to speak a new language. But don't you worry, because there is a super simple tool that unlocks the rest of the conversation. And that key is, you guessed it, small talk. Just think of it like a friendly warm-up. It's the little bridge that takes you from a simple hello to a real conversation. It's a huge part of English-speaking cultures, and today, we are going to get you comfortable with it.
So what is this stuff really? Well, small talk is just about short, polite chats on everyday things. The goal here isn't to share your life story or solve huge problems. Nope, it's just about being friendly and making people feel comfortable around you. That's it.
Okay, so you know what it is, but what do you actually talk about? Let's get into some of my favorite, easy, go-to topics you can use in pretty much any situation. We'll start with the most classic one of all. The weather. I know, it sounds almost too simple, but talking about the weather is the universal icebreaker in English. Why? Because it's something everyone is experiencing, it's totally neutral, and it's so easy to comment on. A question like this is the perfect, no-pressure way to start.
And here's exactly how it works in the wild. See the flow? A simple question, a positive answer, and then, this is the good part, a little extra detail. I love sunny days. That's all it takes. You've just started a friendly little exchange. All right, another fantastic starter is asking about someone's day, or maybe my personal favorite, their weekend. It's so friendly, it shows you're actually interested in them as a person, and it really opens the door for them to share a little something.
Now, a great response usually gives a small detail, whether you went hiking or just chilled and watched a movie. But here's the real key, the thing that keeps the conversation alive. You have to return the question. A simple, how about you, makes all the difference in the world.
So what if your weekend wasn't some grand adventure? That's totally fine. You don't have to make up some crazy story. Simple, positive phrases like, not bad, or pretty good, work perfectly. Remember, the goal is just to connect, not to give a full report on your life.
Now, if you want to get to know someone a little bit better, asking about hobbies is a great next move. This question invites them to talk about something they're actually passionate about, and that can lead to a way more engaging chat.
And just look at how this conversation can grow. It goes from a general hobby, like cooking, to something more specific, especially Italian food. And boom, that gives you something new to ask about, right? Like, oh really, what's your favorite thing to make? See how it builds on itself? Okay, let's switch gears a little and talk about a place where small talk is actually super important, the workplace. Making these small connections with your colleagues is how you build strong, positive working relationships. It really matters. The secret at work is to keep things professional, but friendly. So questions about how a project is going or asking if someone's busy are perfect. They're related to work, they're positive, and they show that you're an engaged and supportive teammate. Here's a classic office exchange. It's polite, it's brief, and it builds that feeling of being on the same team. And by the way, that phrase, I can't complain, is a very common, very positive way to say, yeah, I'm busy, but everything's good. So, you've got the topics down, but how do you actually do it? Let's go over 5 super simple tips that are going to take your small talk from just okay to actually great. This is your formula for success, right here. Number 1, smile. It makes you seem way more approachable. 2, ask open questions. Those are questions that need more than a yes or no. 3, actually listen to the answer. It shows you care. 4, avoid really personal stuff. And 5, you gotta practice. Practice makes progress. Let's really drill down on that point about avoiding personal topics because it's so important. You want to stick to safe subjects like weather or hobbies. They're a safe bet. But things like money, politics, or deep personal problems, that can make people really uncomfortable. So for small talk, it's best to just leave those topics off the table completely. And look, if there's one thing you take away from all this today, please let it be this. Don't get stressed out about having perfect grammar or finding the absolute perfect word. People will just appreciate that you're making an effort to connect with them. That's what really matters. So let's do a quick recap of your new small talk toolkit. Your go-to topics, weather, your weekend, hobbies, and work. And your key actions are super simple. Ask questions, actually listen, and don't forget to smile. And now for the most important part of all, putting it into action. So my question for you is, which one of these conversation starters can you try out today? Remember, the more you practice, the easier and more natural it will feel. Now go out there and make a connection.